Hey there, it's me, Ray. Quick question, do you enjoy playing video games where the main character has both eyes, a jaw, and is alive? Boy, do I have the wrong game for you. Medieval, the game franchise that's spelt wrong. Released on the 9th of October 1998 on the PlayStation 1, this game was a classic for the console, and if you haven't played it, I 100% recommend doing so. Although, if you're watching this video, chances are you already have. The game stars a knight named Sir Daniel Fortescue, who is quite possibly the cutest bag of bones since this one. Oh, what, you thought video games were the only thing that I collect? I grew up playing this game, and my god is it nostalgic to me. This exact copy is actually my childhood copy that I've managed to keep all these years, and still works absolutely fine. From its absolutely glorious soundtrack to its beautiful yet creepy art style, I genuinely think I've played through this game more times than I've committed murder. There's no proof that it was me. The game opens up and tells you all about the lies and deception the people of Gallowmere were told. You see, during his life, Dan was regarded as the hero of Gallowmere, who had charged into battle and took down the evil sorcerer Zarok, which led to tales of his heroic actions being spread far and wide. But as it turns out, it was all lies. As we later find out through a cutscene, Sir Dan was actually killed immediately via a clean shot directly through his eyeball, thus resulting in Zarok remaining alive and returning years later with a new army of the undead. And in the process, accidentally resurrecting Dan himself. This sets up exactly who Dan is, a bumbling idiot who just wanted to feel accomplished no matter what lies he had to tell. And as Zarok returns, so does Dan. And as soon as he is resurrected, he is immediately reminded what a fraud he truly is.
It has risen again, Sir Daniel Fortescue, see? The hero of Gallowmere who fell at the first charge.
Imagine dying in arguably the most embarrassing way given your social status, then being reawoken from your eternal slumber, only to then immediately be greeted by, "You loser! You died like a bitch!" But that's kind of interesting as a concept. In so many games, you're the destined hero ready to fight anyone who may cross your path, but in Medieval, you're just a dead guy with a sword who's been lucky enough to be given a second chance. The gameplay itself is honestly nothing special by today's standards, with you swinging your sword or shooting at enemies while doing some light puzzle solving, and even throwing in the occasional platforming segment. More on that last bit later. Every enemy killed, a percentage bar goes up, and upon reaching 100%, you are then tasked with finding the chalice, and after finding it and completing the level, you are then taken to the Hall of Heroes, where you'll find all the other heroes as statues who, should you accept their offers, will give you weapons, gold coins, or life bulbs which permanently increase your health. These weapons not only make killing late game enemies easier, but will also assist you in puzzle solving. For instance, should you get no chalice, you will use the throwing daggers or your arm to defeat the first boss of the game, making it take a lot longer. But, should you collect the chalice, you will unlock the crossbow, which makes it significantly easier and quicker to kill. Oh yeah, this game has bosses. The bosses in Medieval vary in quality, with some being incredibly fun while also offering a decent amount of challenge, like the Stained Glass Demon, to others being a total pain in the balls like the Ghost Ship Captain, which is probably my least favourite boss fight in the game. One of the bosses even offers you a new move, that being the Daring Dash, a powerful dash attack that makes you move very quickly and can even destroy certain objects and clear your path of enemies. The Chalice reward weapons will also be useful when replaying past levels to unlock new areas, such as this wall in Dan's Crypt, which can be broken with either the club or the hammer that reveals a life bowl. But again, this is all optional. Seriously, you can beat the game with pretty much just your arms should you accept the challenge. I mean, hey, I did say it was a challenge. Another thing that's interesting with this game is its health system, as you don't naturally regenerate health, and health is carried from level to level. Should you want to regain health, you either need to find these energy vials or these energy fountains, which are really slow, but make this really good sound. Good lord, I didn't realise it was that kind of energy. But going back to the topic of levels, my god, they are all so brilliantly designed. Each level feels truly unique from one another. Even Return to the Graveyard, which for the opening is literally just the end of level 1. Despite the game's inherently repetitive nature, the game is always changing itself up as to never get stale. From the game's boss battles to its puzzles, occasional platforming and dialogue, the game makes sure to never bore you and no level goes on for too long or too little. Medieval also does an incredible job of making sure that the puzzles aren't too challenging while not being too easy, as there are some things that, while never explicitly explained, you start to pick up and realise as you progress throughout the game. There's even a secret level hidden within the level Enchanted Earth called the Ant Caves, where a witch shrinks you down to the size of an ant to retrieve pieces of amber, and upon completion you receive a chicken drumstick, which turns enemies into chicken, which you can then use to regain health. Which, don't get me wrong, sounds absolutely ridiculous, but on levels with huge waves of enemies, the drumstick very quickly becomes your best friend. The levels all also have such a beautifully gothic art style, and I know I've mentioned it, but seriously, this game almost looks like a stop-motion Tim Burton film, and I think that's very much the intention, as each level is accompanied by a gothic, orchestral and creepy soundtrack, which makes it one of the best soundtracks on the PS1 in my opinion. Okay, listen, I know this is a long shot, but if any of the composers or people who have the power to do so are watching, I am begging you, please put the soundtracks to all the Medieval games on Spotify. Seriously, they are beautiful. The soundtrack has been playing for most of this video, but like, just listen to it! The game also never takes itself seriously, with its constant jabs at Dan or the characters surrounding him, such as the various witches that you can find throughout the game, or these cockney fairies who, while still having a baby face, also sound like this.
Thank you for releasing me, sir. My people wish only to live our lives in blissful harmony with nature.
Hi, I'm Dr. Smo King. Do you want to look and sound like this?
Rescue my people.
No, I thought not. Say no to cigarettes and prevent whatever the fuck this is from ever happening again. This has been a message from the Dicks organisation. Dicks, don't inhale cigarette smoke. It's bad for you. The voice acting and writing for this game is also strange and funny, with a sometimes morbid sense of humour. My personal highlights are Dan himself for his lack of jaw, thus resulting in his voice sounding like this. Zarok for this one-line delivery alone.
Bugger.
Or the statues for their constant condescending attitude towards Dan and his quest to save Galamir.
What? Call me Mr. Woden the Mighty. How I pity the people of Galamir, that their fate should once again be in the hands of a chump like you! Okay, I've praised this game enough. It's time to be mean, because I have some issues that I would like to discuss. The platforming in this game is complete and utter bum. You see, Dan has this weird thing where when you let go of the analog stick to move him, he almost has to slow down, and the best way to describe it would be ice physics-esque. This results in some deaths that just feel cheap and not your fault, and some levels like Pools of the Ancient Dead being straight up bullshit because of how often you'll randomly fall and die. On top of that, with life being shared in every stage, having to sometimes replay a previous level just to regenerate your health can become slightly tedious. Another issue that becomes more apparent when it comes to platforming is the camera controls, as the camera, instead of being a video game camera, feels more like a physical camera and actually gets stuck on things. It sucked in Sonic 06, and it sucks here. While this is definitely more of a personal problem, the lake is honestly my least favourite level in the entire game. Sure, it's got that really pretty bit with the flying, swimming elephants, but I have lost count of how many times I have just slid off of things because of the way Dan controls. But every other aspect of this game is so beautifully put together and so clearly well thought out that any other minor nitpick I may have for this game just feels futile because of how well everything else is executed. The game has so many tiny little details, like Dan's head making a sound when he hits it, or the fact when he jumps his spine leaves his armour, or the fact that you can just rip off your arm and use it for both ranged and melee combat. Silly little things like that just give the game such a brilliant level of charm, and you can tell the developers really wanted to capture the gothic yet comedic style of movies like The Addams Family, Nightmare Before Christmas and Beetlejuice, and by the end, you just want to replay it all over again. Speaking of the end, the game eventually comes to its climax with a 3-stage boss fight, which after the kind of mediocre first part, you then fight a man on a
Motherfucking fire hole!
And after taking him out, you then hear the most glorious line delivery ever.
Bugger.
You then fight Zarok looking like this, and he chases you around the arena doing huge amounts of damage, and after defeating him, Dan is then took back to his crypt, where he then spends the rest of his life, death, I don't know what you call this, but yeah, that's the ending. Or, if you get every chalice, you get the secret ending where Dan is finally accepted into the Hall of Heroes and attempts to have a cheeky glass of wine. Emphasis on attempts, and finally rests peacefully knowing his work is done. Well, that's it. I beat the game. And what a game it is! I'd go as far as to say this is probably my favourite PS1 game of all time. Hell, I'd even go as far as to say it was my favourite game of all time. Sure, it's not perfect, but when you can name a game that is, I'll change my mind. I just wish there was more of a reward for 100% in the game. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like there should be some kind of reward or something. Oh god. What's happening? Oh no, this feels weird. Oh no. Oh, it feels horrible. Ah! Ah!